and welcome. This is Sunrise Daily, coming to you live on Channels Television. This is the Lagos studio, and the temperature in Lagos is reading 28 degrees, and it can rise as far as 31 degrees in the course of the day. Today is June 9. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Ayo, and good morning. I am Kayla Megwa. Welcome to your daily dose of sunshine, like Mark well likes to call it, this public holiday. The temperature is slightly cooler in the nation's capital. It's 26 degrees here. A public holiday, so the roads are free. You know, people are still in that relaxation mood, and it's going to be a holiday after a holiday, because June the 12th is also going to be a public holiday. So people will just come to work tomorrow and next, and then on Thursday go back into holiday mood. So I think it's going to be a very calm week here, at least in the nation's capital. But let's get you that skyline. This is a celebration, really, Ayo, that someone made very popular. I'm going to say his name much later. But let's take you right now to Ogun State, indeed. Let's take a look at this beautiful, beautiful city that has been playing host to games recently. And then, of course, this conversation around this celebration. And please forgive me if I don't get the name properly. Ojude-Oba, which I hear is the courtyard of the palace. So I'm sure Ayo will give us some more perspective. But in Ogun State right now, what you are looking at this very moment is a very historical site. They've done a very good job putting staircases by the side, so climbing it isn't as difficult. But a very important site there. And of course, one that we said we were going to go to Ayo, but for some reason, Ayo hasn't delivered on us going to this particular beautiful historic rock.
Well, we should have actually gone more to the Ojude-Oba. And by the way, it's Ojude-Oba. What you said has a totally different translation, you know, altogether. Just so you know. By the way,
Ojude.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, translated is the eyes. I know that Oju is eyes. That's what I know.
Yes. So literally, Ojude-Oba means the king's forecourt, the front yard of sorts of the king. And it's a grand homage paid to the Awujale of Ijebu land, the traditional ruler of Ijebu-Ode. And one of the things that we heard in the course of the celebration, which hopefully will bring to you the skyline of the festivities to you tomorrow, is that it gathers age grade. Oh, okay, I hear that we have something from the Ojude-Oba right now. That's what you're looking at right now, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go.
Absolutely. We get that it gathers age grade groups. They call it regbe, you know, people, and about, from what I understand, about 90 different age grade groups, you know, gathered at this particular celebration in Ogun State. It usually holds after Eid al-Kabir. It's tied closely to the Muslim calendar. And maybe now is a good time, Kayla, for you to tell us who this fellow is that you said originated the idea.
Well, he didn't. I didn't say that. I said he made it popular for many of us. We had no idea about this celebration. It wasn't something that I personally knew about, you know. But there's a man called Farouk Oreagba. I hope I got his name correctly. And I remember at some point he had attended this celebration and did a fantastic showing on a horse. You know, and we kept wondering, who is this man? Who is this man? And of course, the conversations around where he was, what was that celebration about, was what brought this to the consciousness of many people, myself included. But it also made us go into a deep dive. So I want to thank him for opening us up to this
what you may want to know
that many of us didn't know about.
Yeah, Kayla, what you may want to know is that this particular celebration dates back 100 years. Yeah, more than a century. And there's an account that traces it to Balogun Kuku, who rallied his household to pay homage to the king after the Eid prayers. He was a wealthy Muslim convert, and he led his companions to thank Oba Fidipote for allowing peaceful practice of Islam in Ijebu land. That is one account. If you have another, please bring it you know, to us. But that is what we have this morning on our skyline, a celebration. I mean, this is one of those things that, you know, just lets you know that at the end of the day, we're all one. It's the same thing you find at the Argungu Fishing Festival, where people gather from all walks of life just for one celebration. Let's leave out all of this, all of the divisions and everything, come together and celebrate, Kayla.
Indeed. I mean, it's lovely to see the celebration of culture. It's a beautiful thing, especially for younger people. We can be so distracted, can't we? We can be so distracted what's going on in our country and be filled with all of the things that can make you unhappy. But colorful displays like this one really give you a sense of where you come from, and it's beautiful. I'm looking forward to, if I can, if I'm invited, I will go, just so we can celebrate this, this particular situation that happens. I think it happens after Eid, you know, during
Absolutely.
Eid. But it's a lovely one, and we really want to thank everyone who has been a part of it and for bringing it to the consciousness of many Nigerians.
Now,
like I said, you know, sometimes we can be so distracted with some of the things going on in our country.
One of the things that we
could to have a conversation, Ayo,
Yeah.
About this situation that happened at the hospital.
Exactly.
Because it's not the first time, the second time, or the third time that we've heard this sort of situation. I hear that there's an investigation that's been launched into what happened. But let's take a look at what happened here. This story, it's one of the most disappointing things that we've ever heard. The federal government really has directed a full investigation into these FMC viral videos, now gone viral. So it's a viral video showing alleged neglect of accident victims at the emergency unit of the Federal Medical Center right here in Abuja, in Jabi, in Abuja, you know. And this video, which has circulated very widely on social media, is showing victims of a road accident reportedly left unattended to by hospital staff after they were brought in by a good Samaritan. So what happens when an accident happens, someone saw it, decided to take action, not leave them or film it, decided to pick them up and bring them to the hospital, and then having to face neglect. And it was a Samaritan, we hear, who actually recorded this footage. Said he found them on the road, took them to the hospital for urgent care, and he's alleging that the hospital staff refused to provide immediate assistance, you know, and someone said one of the staff said there were no gloves, you know. But the hospital's public relations officer, Obadiah Ghana, has issued a statement yesterday confirming that FMC has begun a comprehensive investigation into the incident, and preliminary findings, Ayo, according to the hospital, indicate that the emergency department had an adequate supply of all the medical items, including gloves, resuscitation equipment, and medications. And they said there was no shortage of trolleys. So what happened? What's the story here? And what's the follow-up on this, Ayo? I think that's where I'm more interested. Where are those accident victims right now? Are they getting treatment? Has this been sorted out? But, you know, we've heard of these sorts of stories over and over again. It's pretty disappointing, Ayo.
I'm glad that the hospital came out to let us know that they don't have a shortage of stuff. Maybe that is the hospital itself, you know, defending itself and trying to throw some people under the bus. That argument will also be there. But as they have said, preliminary investigation is on, and then we're going to hear. But however, if you check the story on Twitter, on X, for instance, one of the things that you hear is that, or see, or read, is that this is not the first time, and this is not the only one. So this is perhaps a wake-up call for all state governments to pay attention to the healthcare delivery service in their various states, in their various institutions of medical care to people. The federal government can do all they want. The state government can make all the announcements. But at the end of the day, it is the user experience. It's the experience of the people who go to the hospital, who use the hospitals, that will matter at the end of the day. We hear that there is such a thing as Servicom. Is that something there? Is that facility there for people to make a request, to make a case and say, okay, this is what I experienced here, that is what I experienced there. It is one thing to put out all of this fantastic and amazing. Look at that hospital, Kayla. It's a good place to work. It's a good-looking place to work. It's a place you should be proud of. Granted that there was no emergency response, and the Nigerian says, okay, I am going to be the emergency responder, and brings them to the hospital, and this is the kind of thing that we're hearing. Again, this is one part of the story. The government has begun investigation. Let us hear what we hear from there, because at the end of the day, as we said, thankfully, see, the man is taken in, and other people, the Samaritan said, other Nigerians who were in that accident, this man also is one of them, should go into the hospital, and he will leave them to the guy, and he will just leave. He's done his bit, he's leaving. Now we have done our bit as well to bring all of these issues to you. Where do we go from here? Well, Kayla, we'll take a short break now, ladies and gentlemen, and when we return, it's time for us to get into the issues we have landed for you this morning. Do stay with us.
Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. All right, well, the president is in the news. Everyone has been talking about him. His house in Lagos has been a mecca of some sort. Everybody has been going to visit him, including people that shocked us, you know, in many ways. But the conversation really is about his second year in office. He's gotten endorsement from his party. He's getting a lot of kickback of that endorsement from the opposition. But the Nigerian people are at the center of it all. And we're asking, how has he done? And that conversation has been going on for quite a while, where we are asking, how has he fared? How was 2 years of the Tinubu administration? Well, we're going to be looking at the economy today. And joining us for that conversation, Mr. Paul Alaje, Chief Economist and partner SPM Professionals. He joins us live here in the studio. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much for having me.
It's good to have you here with us.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Did you have a holiday?
Yeah, well, maybe. We have to work.
Oh,
Research
yes.
does not stop, whether it's during the break or not. But at least the street is not as heavy as it should be, as it is usually.
A lot of people have traveled, apparently.
Yes.
All right, so let's take a look at the Tinubu administration in the past 2 years, and we're focusing really on the economy. I know that we've had conversations in the past about his economic policies. And one conversation that I think we started off, but we didn't quite finish, was about the concept of subsidy removals and where that leads any economy. Has he been able to handle it? We've heard people say, look, it was the right thing to do. Everyone said it was going to be done. But many people said the methodology was wrong. There were supposed to be other things put in place before you do that. Talk to us a little bit from an economic person's perspective. How have the removal of subsidies impacted us as a people? And are we on the track to healthier economies, as the government keeps telling us?
Yeah, thank you once again. I remember that I spoke with your colleague in an evening show in the studio, Sheon, where he asked me if subsidies removed. And I said that subsidy should only be removed when local refineries become functional. As of the time we removed the subsidy, we were still importing. Dangote refinery was not yet functional. Apart from that refinery, I also mentioned that it would be dangerous for us to depend on Dangote refinery alone. We should have other functional refineries in Nigeria. Because if NNPC wants to compete with Dangote and they have to import, then we are back in Egypt. It's not really going to liberate the nation. And you've seen the back and forth. Price goes to 800, 900, 1,800, 900. We've been around that corridor. So, and I made my opinion, my position known, that is filled with research, that yes, if you must remove subsidy, we need to have alternative locally, so that we don't now say that because we remove subsidy, we now need to put pressure on our FX reserve, which we did for some time. But thankfully, we have seen that local refinery is working, and that this private refinery is able to serve the entire Nigeria. Well, whether we want it to work like that or not is another conversation entirely. But what has been the impact? The impact has been in different phases. First is that more revenue went to government covers. We have seen state governors had almost ×2, in some cases over 200% of what they earned before. And the expectation of classical, apart from classical, also free market system, is that such money will be invested. Unfortunately, it's not all the states that have invested the magnitude at which is expected, at least from what research is indicating. Ordinarily, if as the money came to the vote, it goes directly into investment. And this investment is not going to be recurring. It goes into capital expenditure. And we can see it in rail, we can see it in road, we can see it in schools, we can see it in hospital. Then the impact will be sporadic. And people will enjoy that, oh, subsidy is removed, but I don't have to pay school fees. I don't have to take my children to private school, public school are now better off in states. And this is responsibility of state and local government. And we can also say that hospitals, primary health care is better. We have seen what governors are doing and all of those. So we have not seen much of those things. In some states, yes. We have seen states where building rails, blue line, red line, purple line, all manner is coming with investors being attracted, for example, to Lagos State. But we have not seen so much. I can also say that, yes, some states have reduced what they were owing because they use part of the money earned to service their facilities. But apart from some of these states that have serviced their facilities, we see a few states, very few states though, that has also increased their debt in spite of this humongous revenue that they now earn. So that is what has happened for government components. Go to household, because economy is divided into three. For household, we have seen untold hardship. According to World Bank, 75% of Nigeria, that is if you put 4 Nigerians together, more than 3 are now living in poverty. This is not my figure, it has nothing to do with me. It is World Bank that said so. Then we have also said those are people living in rural area. People living in urban center. They said if you put 5 people together, then more than about 2 of them are also living in abject poverty. How did they determine this number? They said it's those who are living below $2.15. Now, when you ask, what is $2.15? You multiply that to be charitable by 1,500, multiply it by 30, then you know that everybody on minimum wage is said to be poor, because minimum wage is not even up to that amount.
Is not,
so the impact on industry is that cost of doing business has increased. You saw the cost of energy. When government removed subsidy, it's reflected on cost of energy. And now when IMF said Nigeria needs to also remove all subsidy, then we saw band A, band B, band C, and so on. And recently I heard that we're even going to do complete liberalization for energy. And I'm saying we have to be very careful, because you will have to pay more for finished product. Manufacturers may have to have some setback if we do this entirely. And let me say this, subsidy is not a bad thing. In America, you saw the trade war, the war of words between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. One of the things Donald Trump said is that government is going to take away some subsidy given to Elon Musk. So my question is, you mean America is giving subsidy, an economy that is supposed to be free market system that we are trying to copy? If such economy gives subsidy, there is something about subsidy that we don't know. So is this subsidy to promote production? If yes, I think Manufacturer Association of Nigeria should be the center call for government now to say that beyond giving all the monies to politicians to share in their state, how do we empower production? How do we empower manufacturing so that the expectation, the hope that government have promised can materialize in time, not at the end of the tenure?
We have to be able to get all these things out there, and I want to be able to manage the time properly. You mentioned that free market. We've had this conversation. I had this conversation with Dr. Fashua, and he said, no. We're not heading towards a free market economy. There are elements of it in our economic plan, but that's not where we're heading to, which supposes, in my mind, that there will be subsidies on some things. But generally, to have a clearer picture, at least that's the mind of the president's economic team, to have a clearer picture of where we are economically, we would have to remove some of the major subsidies, which is what has happened. But you also talked about reinvesting that subsidy, and the fact that not all states are doing that. Are these growing pains, because some have reinvested, some haven't. Are we heading towards El Dorado? Because that's what he's saying. That's what the president is saying. It's difficult, yes. Don't worry. Everybody will do the right thing at some point, and we'll actually see the progress. We've seen a reduction in the price of petrol, at least in the past few days. Are we heading towards recovery?
Okay, so beyond the reduction, let me first say that I am neither for socialism. I can't even be part of socialism. And I'm also not for extreme capitalism. I believe that people should have choices, but government must intervene. In fact, the father of modern macroeconomy, John Maynard Keynes, he said that in the long run, where most pure capitalists believes that is the way to go, we are all dead. So that's aspiration, that don't worry in the long run. What bank said Nigeria is going to get better in 10 to 15 years, from the explanation. How would you say 10 to 15 years when the same institution said that 75% of the people are living below poverty line? So are you saying we should keep growing poverty? definitely there must be another strategy, which I believe exists, to help liberate our people from hunger, from poverty, and from deprivation.
The argument really against that from the presidency's side is that when you look at the dollar, $2.15 is a lot of money in Nigeria. You can eat with $2.15 in Nigeria.
So if you can, how much is $2.15?
It's about 3,000 plus.
Do you know that in the 60s, 100 naira is equivalent of 20 bags of rice? 100 naira today is at best buying 2 sachet water. So if you are talking about comparative analysis, we have to be holistic. I have no issue with $2.15 argument from the presidency. To some extent, is correct. But I am saying that it's important for us as a people to understand the level we are now as economy, instead of just copying pure market mechanism. Our people need some help, and we must provide that help as much as we are pursuing certain economic goals, which I think is important. And how will this happen? Most of our people that are poor, they're in rural community. From the World Bank report, local government needs to be energized, and the state government, we need to do more. Then federal government must also support, so that economic liberalization can get to our people and they can get benefits of democracy.
My colleague in Lagos has a few questions for you. Ayo, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Kayla. A good number. One of the things that you said that I would like you to expatiate on and find a way to gain some accountability and maybe impact assessment is the fact that the federal government now makes a lot more money into the federation account, and as you said, a whole load of states, all the states, some of them are getting as much as 200%, you say. But you also say that the impact is not really being seen nor felt by the people. So where do we go from here? On the one hand, of course, every time we're talking about the federal government, but with the same way we are marking the 2 years of the president is the same way we are marking the 2 years, the second year of several other state governments in Nigeria. So where do we go from here? Who should be calling them to account?
Well, I think that we need to review our constitution. The reason is because, on one hand, the economy, we say that is the federal government that has responsibility, not knowing that we have subnational that play critical economic roles too. So if government has made policy, in this case federal government, one, subsidy removal, secondly, flotation of currency that have taken the naira from about 600, 700 to about 1,500, 1,600. But you see, in all of this, federal government cannot take all the money. In fact, in the new proposed tax bill, federal government has reduced the component from about 15 to 10%, have allocated more to local government. State government is still very much robust. So in building this economy, we must understand that there are 36 plus 1 subnational, in this case, the one maybe FCT, that must become more responsible. Look at FCT, we have seen new road construction, we have seen opening new leader. That does not mean FCT is the best place to be in, but it is not where it used to be. We have also seen Lagos State, where we have seen rail line constructed and so on and so forth. I am saying that the president must have a way to ask the governors and the local government chairman to invest in their respective states and local governments. If we think that the constitution does not allow and talks about independence of these states, then the people will suffer. At the end of the day, when World Bank gave report about 75% of the people living in abject poverty in rural area in Nigeria, it does not matter whether they are in rural area or in urban center. That is why we must have that robust economic conversation where all of us must agree that this is the pattern of investment that will liberate us. And I have said this time and again, one of the ways we can do that is to have a legislation that backs national economic development program. And that legislation means this federal government legislature has backed it, and all the state government, or majority of the state government, will back it. What does that mean? If you are coming from ABC political party, of QYZ political party, you can do other things. But we are saying that this critical infrastructure that will bring correct growth economy to the people must, as a matter of fact, be implemented. If not, the state legislature, federal legislature, we have the right either to remove their governors or their local government chairmen or the president, whatever the case may be. That's for federal, whatever the case may be. But when we don't have this, the government would say that I have tried, either the legislature is not cooperating. During President Jonathan, it was some governors that we saw, Dr. Ngozi Iweala mentioned in the media that some of the monies they have in the reserve, they were told that they don't necessarily need to save, and that dominated the media space. So we must agree.
Well, Mr. Laje,
political party, one, and across state and federal government, that this is what we want. Let me ask you. I'm supposed to be asked questions.
Because I would like to ask you, actually raise a number of issues. My apologies, Mr. Laje, just a second.
I'm sorry, sir.
Just a second. We have quite a number of things to discuss, and we have very limited time. You will speak to that same question, to that same issue, and perhaps even answer your own question with this one. One of the things that the federal government was also able to champion was the ruling of the Supreme Court for local government financial and administrative autonomy. Just to be clear, now the Constitution is supposed to be obeyed or to be executed as is, not just in breach. But at the end of the day, the conversation is still, it's more than a year now, or about a year now, that the Supreme Court ruling came out, and still, even till now, we are still hearing, we're trying to put mechanisms in place, and we're hearing all kinds of things that some state governments don't want their local governments to be autonomous and all of those things. What's the impact of that for you on the economy? And to the question you raised about 20 years from now, will we still be talking about or struggling with local government autonomy in another 20 years?
Well, we might be talking about struggling with local government autonomy because 20 years ago, we were doing it, and 20 years to come, we may do it if nothing changes. We might still have to discuss poverty, hunger, deprivation with high unemployment in the next 20 years, because 20 years ago, we had it as concerns. 20 years to come, we might still have it if we do nothing. When I say nothing, it does not mean government at all level will not do anything. It means is that what they are doing, will it be significant enough? We do target hunger enough? We do target unemployment enough? We will target inflation enough? We will use policies and implementation of the same to deal with some of the major economic concerns that we have. And I ask you, in 20 years' time, will we get there? It will be if we're able to solve some of critical problems rather than just playing politics with most of them. For instance, issue of electricity. Can we make it ubiquitous in most places where production is taking place in Nigeria? If we don't, there is no need for me to forecast what will happen in the future. We know that poverty may still reign supreme. If we don't have electricity, there is direct relationship between wealth creation, poverty reduction, and energy provision. China proved it, South Korea proved it, Japan proved it. Most of the country, whether high-end country or middle-income country, have proven it. The question is, what must we do to make it happen? And I go again to the issue of constitution, because this is the grand norm of our federation. We must certainly look at it, and the president and also those governors and all of it, we must agree. If we want this republic to work, and we want the economy of this republic to be great, we must remove the hands that is keeping it down, whosoever it is, whatsoever it may be, to make us function as a republic and make our country a great nation. And I ask you, what we should be doing first is, now that local government has not really functioned the way they should, and the allocation that the Supreme Court has given is not, why are we not implementing? What must we do? There are laws, provision, that states clearly what must be done. I'm happy.
Is it possible? Are you trying to tell us that we're not operating an actual federation here?
We are not.
Because we heard that argument from Mr. Bakoba not too long ago. So you're saying, apart from the politics of it, even economically, the fact that the power is too centralized means that we cannot really function as a federation and get the economic benefits of a proper federation.
Well, I wrote an article many years back on the Nigeria Federation, federal system with begging border leaks. You are not a federation when your state governor will come to the center. It should be the reverse. The state governor should actually feed the center, while the real economic zone should happen at the state and local government levels. That is when not everybody will want to be the president. What we should all be aspiring to be is local government chairmen and governors, because those are the economic zone.
How do we turn this around? Mr. Bakuba said a constitutional review.
What have I been mentioning? Constitution. I never listened to his interview.
Okay.
We need to change the constitution. See, I want a place where when I want to go to Sokoto, I know that in Sokoto we have abundance of sunlight, and I can use that to start a business around solar. I want a place when I go to Newi where I know that I can have manufacturing plants. In Lagos, I know there are seaports. We need to look at our environment and create businesses with consciousness of reducing poverty, unemployment, and exporting to the rest of the world. These are things I think we need to do. Unfortunately,
the next 2 years, we have just 1 minute.
Okay.
The next 2 years.
Well, the next 2 years.
What direction should should President Bola Ahmed Tinubu be going in the next 2 years? Continue on this course or change?
Well, I think that we need to have a review after these 2 years. What has worked, what has not worked. A few things have worked, a few things have not worked. And because there is no time. So I would have loved to talk on both sides. I don't want to be sensitive. People say, you're only talking on one side, talk on the other side. So a few things have worked, a few things have not worked. One of the things we need to look at is how do we tame inflation completely? Because that is hurting our people.
Okay.
And if you don't tame inflation, I'm sorry, no matter what we do, people will still feel the impact. Secondly, President Tinubu should start laying foundation for electricity. When he became the president, I told him. When President Buhari was in office for 8 years, I told one of your former colleagues that this president will only become successful if he has one-point agenda: power, electricity, and link it to manufacturing. I'm telling President Tinubu the same thing. You want to reign, you want your name to be in the sound of time. Fix power, fix electricity, and I tell you, we will continue to remember you as one of the greatest presidents ever, not because you are very good with politics, but because you are giving us energy, electricity, and do everything. You have the wherewithal, you have the body to do it. Please get it done, and let power be available, especially for manufacturing zone. Then you'll be a great man.
Alaje, PhD, Chief Economist and Partner, SPM Professionals. Thank you so much for your insights this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're going on a short break, and when we come back, we have more on Sunrise Daily. Please stay with us.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Well, that same conversation continues, and, well, maybe we should not be looking at the next 2 years from now, because it will seem like the race towards 2027 has begun in earnest while we're reviewing the current government. Jerry Chukwueke joins us this morning. He's a political analyst and former Chief Technical Advisor to the Imo State Governor. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you very much.
A quick one on the midterm review of the president. Of course, there's been divided opinions, but let's stick with you on the political side of things. What would be your assessment of the political look and feel of Nigeria over the past 2 years?
Well, my view is there is a significant amount of confidence that is growing. And it's emboldening my party, the APC. I have made the argument severally that we need a credible, strong, viable opposition so as to keep government's feet to the fire. There's no doubt about it. We need it. We need alternative viewpoints. We need constructive criticism and how things can be done differently. That's the job of opposition. It is still not happening. All we see so far is motion without movement.
One of the allegations that we hear, my apologies for butting, one of the allegations we hear is that it's the APC that is compelling people to come into leave their parties and come to the APC to create a one-party state.
No, so I got news for you. Politicians are not going to leave their constituents behind. Politicians trend and move in the direction of the wishes and support of their constituents.
Are you sure about that?
Oh, yeah. Now, let me finish. Secondly, I go back to the point of confidence. What President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done in the many policy decisions, and we can go into many of them, is that he's been able to drive with confidence and is exhuming it. There is no doubt as to who is in charge. I draw your attention to the fact that in the past, we elected leaders that sunk into the structure of the presidency. And after a while, you start to wonder who is in charge. There is no doubt as to who is in charge of this government. And you know what else is happening? He has a solid understanding of the workings of the different aspects of governance. I'll give you an example. I was focusing a few days ago on how he's zeroing in on the cost of oil production in Nigeria, on the back of driving a process where local oil companies that have acquired IOC's dormant assets onshore are ramping up crude production. We're not panicked because price of crude is hovering around $63, $64 a barrel compared to a budget of $75 a barrel, because of the details and how he's starting to connect the dots. So if you see clearly, in my view, how he's even operating on the monetary side of things. Look at what the central bank is doing recently, opening up the diaspora opportunities to bring them into the financial system so they can open accounts, run accounts, invest in Nigeria. Last year, inflows from the diaspora hovered around 4.5 billion. And this has been around the 4.55 billion over the last 6 to 10 years. Officially, when you add the unofficial inflows, people who come in with $10,000 or less, we are in excess of $6 billion a year. And so, the CBN now moving to say, we want you to transact in Nigeria, have access to the financial system, run accounts, flow these monies in without obstruction. We'll encourage you to invest. Is ramping up confidence in addition to crude oil production. So I can go on and on, because what we're saying here, I heard on a different program, a presenter saying, well, we had the arguments that the opposition is not doing anything, can't come up with anything different. So far, what we've heard is some criticism of some policies. That's good. They haven't said they have a different policy program. So criticism of what he's doing, constructive, is good. It only helps fine-tune. Okay. So I think we're making great progress, in my view.
Now, there are concerns being raised, and I'm sure you are aware of these concerns. And maybe if you weren't a member of the PDP, you'd be as concerned, beg your pardon, the APC, yes, you'd be as concerned. The concerns that these mass defections that are coming in of different politicians, including legislators from different states, all collapsing their structures to move into your party, the APC. The concern is, look, we may be tending to a situation where we are operating the Constitution in breach. By that I mean the Constitution does not permit a one-party state. However, if all parties collapse into the APC, then we will be operating the Constitution in breach, wouldn't we?
Well, look at the history of Mr. President. He's been a long-standing Democrat who was very active in opposition. I don't believe that this president is looking to create a one-party system in Nigeria. His long history, it's about creative, viable opposition to fine-tune government and provide alternative views. Listen, I am not taking a firm position on the failings of the major opposition parties now, but they are way behind because the train has left the station. Let me tell you what I believe is going on. People, as we say in Nigeria, big politicians, legislators, and so on, that syndrome, follow who know road. That's where this is trending. And I am saying, when you look at the bold steps, you look at the future, and what President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is projected for Nigeria, particularly towards the economy. Look at what's happening in Imo. Eno is now pumping huge natural gas into the system. Shell is following. I heard one of your guests talking about power. He's focused on it because the future of power supply in Nigeria must be powered by natural gas, and we have that in quantum.
Okay.
Imo is a strong opportunity for gas. So, and you can see President talking about the emphasis on gas pipelines. Now, look at in the budget, over 40 billion provision for states in grants to invest in railroads connecting their regions. These are all new things.
But you haven't still spoken to whether or not Nigeria is tending towards a one-party state with the mass defections that are coming. So, and now you say, my apologies,
yes.
I know that Kayla is standing by to come in and ask you a question or two, but you also say that we want a vibrant opposition.
Yes.
How can we have vibrant opposition when those in opposition are coming into your party?
So the people, that's the point I'm making. The opposition parties need to get their acts together before it's too late. We need alternative viewpoints. People want a conversation about what they will do differently, their preparation for leadership. Where are they going to take us to? Different from where we are and where President Tinubu is taking us. That's an important argument. And that's a conversation Nigerians want to have. And I've made this point over and over again. They are failing in doing so. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, all we see is motion without movement.
Okay.
That, the fault, I'm telling you, take a closer look. You got to see that the opposition needs to rise to the occasion.
Okay.
One of the major parties can't even call a NEC meeting. Okay. They're not even sure who is authorized to do so.
Well, I'm sure that Kayla has a question or two for you along that line as well. Go ahead, Kayla.
Indeed, Mr. Chukwueke, I mean, listening to you talk about, you know, where the president is taking us, where the APC is taking us to, and I know that you're a member of the All Progressives Congress. I'm going to ask you just a few questions before we wrap up this morning. Does it worry you that a lot of people are probably joining the All Progressives Congress just to forward their political careers? And I say that because there's the accusation that in Nigeria we're not practicing a proper democracy, it's electionocracy. At least that's what I heard a senior advocate of Nigeria say recently. That it's just the concept of just winning elections. The governance bit of it seems a bit lacking. Is that something that worries you, the fact that a lot of people who are joining your party are just doing so to forward their political careers? And it's got nothing to do with building the party. In fact, many people have said that an implosion of the APC is inevitable.
Well, my view is that that may just be wishful thinking. Look at the facts on the ground. We see confidence demonstrated day after day by Mr. President and the ruling party. We see a lot of mobilization efforts. My governor in Imo, for example, Governor Hopu Uzodimma, as you know, is chairman of the APC Governors Forum. He is all over the place, mobilizing, explaining, detailing the policies of this government and why we should support President Bola Tinubu. What a great mobilizer he is. Look at what Governor Wike, former Governor Wike, is doing. He is still a member of the PDP, but you can see how he's been able to straddle the two because he's a strong believer of the vision of this president and the policies that have now started to bear fruit. One of the things that I'm excited about, and even in Imo, is how the security challenge we're facing is now being, in fact, chased after to make better. My governor... My question is, a lot of people joining your party right now, some have said, are joining because
it's the place where their political careers can be moved forward. Some want re-election, some want one thing or the other politically. Doesn't that worry you that you have a lot of people with political agendas joining your party? What happens if the party is not able to give them what they want? And don't you see a friction coming between these people who are joining your party now and those who have been in your party for a long time? Don't you think those agendas may clash at some point, leading to the implosion that many people have said is ultimately going to happen in your party?
Well, listen, people can speculate all they want and have their dose of wishful thinking. What is clear, in my view, about what's driving the surge is the confidence the leadership of this government and the party is bringing to play. The policies, very tough, but are working. We've seen the results day by day. People want to follow the winning team. That's my argument. And I know, just as if you check, you will come to the same conclusion that this president believes in a viable opposition. He's a Democrat. That's how he played. The job is now up to the opposition parties to show leadership and preparedness for leadership in Nigeria. We haven't seen that. That's the challenge. And nobody wants to follow a losing team. You got to follow a winning team. That's what life is all about. So the opposition still has the opportunity to get their acts together and start to run a conversation about what policy differences and alternatives they can bring to the Nigerian people to make it our lives.
How about the people? We're not talking about the people at all. We're just talking about the political class.
No, listen to this. But look at how our people are faring. You heard the Economist, who was just a few minutes ago, talking about the impact.
I'm talking about the political end of things.
But that's what I'm talking about, grassroots. How are people feeling, right? That's the issue. Fuel subsidy, more money to the states. Mr. President is putting his feet down that local government monies must go to local governments. We need money flows in our local areas. So the small people, small suppliers, small contractors, money flowing. We need the governors to do more to invest in infrastructure
While we
and
are
jobs
talking
creation.
about the president, you know, putting his feet to the fire, we also need to, the president needs to find a way to get the governors, even the governors of the APC, to put their feet to the fire so that the money that is supposed to go to the local governments actually go to the local governments, and they invite the local governments to the table for economic conversation in their states. That is what the Constitution says, and no one is talking about that.
I agree with you, and guess what? Mr. President is doing just that.
Let's hope
He's put his feet down on local government funds. You agree with me that he's done that. And the thing I like about him being in charge is that the governors, subnationals understand that we have a leader at play.
But we are still...
we are confident. Things will only get better.
We're still waiting for the local governments to act as they should. Anyway, for now, we have to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very
Jerry
much.
Chukwueke is a political analyst, former chief technical advisor to the Imo State governor. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, that's the show this morning. It's still a holiday for a good number of people. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your morning. I'm Ayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of it.
Have a great day ahead and a lovely week ahead. I'm Kayla Magwa.